All right, welcome to S&M on Sci-Fi. This is S.
And this is M.
All right, today we're going to have a little bit of a change up as to what we normally talk about. But before we get to that, I would like to take care of a couple of quick housekeeping things. Come first off, check us out at our website smsci-fi.com. There's everything you ever need on there as far as us is concerned. All the links to them. There actually are YouTube videos, just because I'm actually kind of enjoying creating them that way. And honestly, there's an issue with storing them on the website itself. I'm working on it, but at the same time, it is fun to have them on YouTube. Also, shoot us an email at email is sm@smsci-fi.com. Pretty easy, pretty quick. We're on Google+, Facebook now. We have a page. Anyway, come check us out anywhere you like.
Now, there was a new development. Actually, you have invited Chris Hardwick to come review us, right?
Well, not necessarily. I shot an email a while back ago. I listened to his podcast, the Nerdist podcast. It's Chris Hardwick, Jonah Ray, and Matt Myron. No, anyway, it doesn't matter who the names are. Anyway, one of the podcasts he was talking about was just the three of them sitting around BSing about random stuff. And he was talking about small projects, things people like to do. He said, if you like to do it or want to give it a shot, just go do it. Just have fun with it. And then, if you're having fun with it, who cares if anybody else likes it? And that was kind of the point behind this whole SM on Sci-Fi project.
But we don't like it, and it's not small. It's huge. It's big time stuff here.
Right, of course. Anyway, I was perusing his website, and I came across a comments email type thing. I shot him an email asking what he thought of it, have him check it out, see what he thought. So far, he hasn't gotten back to me. Basically, it is me looking for some validation.
Well, I'm sure you were the only one, and he's really just
I'm sure, absolutely. I mean, how many people does he have asking to check out his crap? So, anyway, Chris Hardwick leads me right into Will Wheaton, who we're going to invite again.
Will, please come join us.
Please, absolutely. Now, personally, I have done almost nothing to invite him.
Well, he listens to these. I've been told from some very close friends that he's waiting for the next one, and that's really the story. Right
really,
there.
what I kind of hope is while when we put a new video up or put a new episode up, I tag Will Wheaton in it.
Oh, really?
I do. I don't go out sending him emails and that type of thing because I really don't want it to be a stalking issue. I'm kind of hoping someone says, "Hey, Will, check this thing out that these guys do." That's kind of what I'm hoping.
Someday.
But anyway, let's move right along. Today, we are drinking, well, sorry,
we got
folks,
different drinks.
We do have different drinks. Sorry to disappoint you, but we...
Now, yours is very interesting. What do you have there?
I have a bottle of water.
That's excellent. We don't want to support any one brand or another like we have in the past, so we won't say that it's great value brand by Walmart.
No, we are not going to say that.
It's high class stuff here.
That's
all the way.
Oh.
In fact, I think Perrier personally poured this glass of water for you.
Yeah, I really hope so because we are that high class.
Now, on the other hand, I have generic coffee from Kirkland, but to make it good for me, it's got organic soy milk in it.
Hey.
Yeah.
Okay. Organic soy milk.
It's like a creamer.
Pretty. Okay. Not what I would put in my coffee, but that's, to we each their own. We can debate that.
You got to get with the new way. Organic and soy milk. That's the future.
Well.
High tech. High tech coffee.
And I like my low tech coffee. I like coffee that has been out for 3 days and all I got to do is heat it up and burn whatever is off.
See, not only is this, to make it even more high tech, it was made in a Keurig.
Okay, that'll give you. All right, well, let's get on to what the heck we're going to talk about. Our movie that we picked today is a movie called Paprika. Now, Em, you picked this, so I'm going to let you explain what it is and why you picked it.
This is a Japanese animation, otherwise, as many people know, many fans will know it's anime.
Mm-hmm.
This particular movie came out in 2006. I haven't seen it yet. I don't believe you've seen it yet, right?
I have not, but I have read up on it, so I know what it is and what the idea is. So,
I've been a big fan of anime since the early 80s. Actually, when they started pushing series out on early morning TV, and then later, as I got into my teens, I started watching animated movies. At that time it was hard to come across them. But in any case, I picked this movie because I hadn't seen it. It looks really good. It's got a sci-fi bent. It's not the typical alien type thing, space that we do. It's more of a high-tech.
Right, high-tech technology. And what's kind of interesting, in case the people at home are a little confused as to why we're doing an animated movie, because I was at first, honestly. You told me about the movie. I was like, all right, cool. So I pulled up a trailer of it. And all the trailer is of, well, we're going to talk about it later, of the dream sequences. And every one of them looked fantasy, not sci-fi. And then finally I read up on the synopsis, and the idea is it sounds like it's a mind traveling or exploring dreams of other people, that type of thing. If we took this story, and not only that, the animation, it's people, it's humans, it's not animals, it's not something goofy like that. It's people. And if we took that story, made it live action, kept every scene for scene, made it live action, now you do have a sci-fi film that's not just anime.
Right.
So it's... In
fact, there are some similar, like Inception, and a few others that were done recently. The Cell, I think, which is a little older. But
Right. So while the execution might be animated, the story is science fiction, which definitely allows us to say, let's talk about it. So, anyway, next thing I got on my list of things to talk about is I have a trivia question for you.
Oh, I can feel that. I can feel it's gonna.
Well,
be a tough one.
Yeah, I think you may have ruined it for me already. Because this movie is actually is the idea of exploring other people's dreams via technology. What other film, which was a horror or suspense film, starring Jennifer Lopez, did the exact same thing?
Was it The Cell?
Yes, it was. See, like I said, you ruined it for me, but that's okay. Anyway.
Well, I have a question for you. This is specifically about Paprika. You said you read some background on it, so you may have a heads up.
Okay.
This movie was an adaptation from a written form before it became a movie. Was it originally a novel, originally a Magna novel, or a Magna series?
I'm going to go with straight novel.
You're correct.
Because nothing in my reading said, comics or comic strip or Magna. Yeah.
However, as a note, it was actually all three forms. But the first one was novel.
Good. Score on me. It means I got one right for the first time. Another thing I wanted to talk about just briefly, just real quick, only because when you and I go to work, we actually talk about sci-fi. Recently we've been talking about Star Trek and stuff like that.
But we get a lot of work done too, just in case.
Absolutely, we are workaholics. We're doing this while we're working, I promise. But anyway, one thing we've been doing a lot recently is like fun fantasy battles.
Oh yeah. Give us an example. Here.
Well, the other question came up one day: who would win, Dr. Octopus or the Lizard from the Spider-Man universe?
Right. And now originally we did Ming versus Emperor Palpatine.
Palpatine, right? Correct. So this one I have for you. I think we're going to have a little bit of fun. Hulk versus Superman.
Ooh, I think they actually had a crossover that did this.
Did they? I didn't even know. Or
I can't say for sure, but that's a draw.
Is it a draw?
Absolutely draw, because
they're both indestructible.
Pretty much. I think Superman has an edge on versatility. He's got the X-ray vision, lasers, super speed, all that kind of stuff, which would outmatch the Hulk. But the Hulk can just keep going.
Right.
And I think eventually Superman does get worn out. I mean, he's been beaten pretty good, and he gets worn out. And I think that's where the Hulk would potentially be able to
Right, but that's a
back.
tough one to call. Yeah. And I actually had kind of the same conclusion. Man, that is just too close to call in my mind. But that would be a fun one to watch.
Maybe if, like, Superman cut him in half with the laser vision, I don't know if the Hulk could recover.
But see, that's just it. The Hulk, I mean, at least if we take it in the context of the Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton, Edward Norton jumps out of the plane and was not turning into the Hulk. In fact, he didn't turn into the Hulk until that very moment when he hit the ground.
We don't know, though.
But
they cut away while he goes, and his eyes go wide.
That's true. That's a good point. So he was, okay. But anyway, I think it would be quick. I think it would be almost, the green guy spit out a bullet when he tried to shoot himself in the back of the throat. So, it'd be quick.
Yeah, that's from Avengers.
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
Okay.
So I think while Superman might throw a laser beam at him, I think the Hulk's reaction would be instantaneous. So I don't know.
Well, I'm
Catch him while he's still Bruce Banner. I think that's the key.
Yeah, there you go. Just crush his head, rip it off.
Right.
Not violent, of course.
No,
but,
no.
You know.
But anyway, I am ready to watch a movie. How about you?
Absolutely, and this is Paprika.
All right. Catch you in a minute.
So we're back.
We are back. All right. Wow.
I'm gonna start off by saying mixed reviews.
Mixed reviews. There were some things in this movie that I found were kind of neat and kind of well thought out, and then there's parts of this movie that it's just, yeah.
I want to say I thought the animation was superb.
Oh, absolutely.
Really good animation.
Absolutely. You pointed out earlier that the Japanese, when anime in general, there is no detail left out.
Right.
And the animation.
Go ahead.
And the animation in this, that's exactly the case. No detail left out.
And it really fits the script. They detail it to the story.
Absolutely. I felt like they had this story, this concept in mind. They drew up everything that they wanted and could even think of, which it makes sense for this story that to do an anime, because now you're not limited by film technology. You can do whatever you want. So I understand wanting to put it into an animated style. That way you could tell the story the way you want. And they clearly wanted to have this story to have a lot of detail.
Yeah.
Much like most, if not all, anime that I have seen. I mean, personally, I'm not a big fan of anime, so that's going to affect my rating of this movie to some extent. And this movie didn't help my wanting to watch more anime.
On that note, though, the action level in this movie was pretty minimal.
Pretty minimal. There were points when I was literally looking at the clock, like, how much more of this is there?
Now, there was a lot going on, but action-wise, the story was pretty basic.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't help but wonder, though, if a movie like this movie, if it was live action, if it was special effects rather than animated, would we feel different about it?
Well, we kind of alluded to a few movies, The Cell, and we talked about Inception. There was a much older movie called Dreamscape
right.
that explores this concept. What happens in dreams? What happens in reality? Can the two mix? And these sorts of ideas. And it's an interesting thing to keep coming back up.
Absolutely. It's not a bad idea to revisit. I don't feel like this movie executed that well. Because there's a lot of things in there that just don't make a lot of sense. I understand being able to take over dreams. I understand being able to control a person through their dreams. I don't understand how the real world could be as physically affected as it was in this movie. For instance, at the end of the movie, everybody's done. No more dreaming is happening. No more chaos is happening. However, the city is affected. Let's put it this way. One of the characters, the big guy that invented the entire dreaming technology, he was this massive robot running around, caused damage. The damage that giant robot caused, was still present, even though there's no physical way he was a robot. In fact, as far as we know, everybody was just dreaming that he was a robot. He wasn't actually a robot, but yet the damage is still there. So I don't understand that at all.
Yeah, the way they crossed over so many times, it's like the old cliche, wake up, is it still a dream? Which they had in this movie
Absolutely.
as well. And, at what point do you wake up and it's no longer a dream? And if the intent from the creators of the film is to never let you know for sure, they did a fairly good job.
Absolutely. I mean, you could kind of pick up on it, or at least where the characters in question thought it was the real world. You can pick that up on very easily. And really the big clue to me, whenever it was actually a dream versus reality in this movie, was that whenever that character Paprika was around.
Right. And you know what, this reminds me a little bit of the first Total Recall.
Oh God, yes.
And even the second one a little bit, but what is reality? Is he still dreaming, or in his, whatever they called it, the infused memories.
Right.
So, but as far as you were going somewhere, I think with the live action versus anime, movies have tried to do a live action version of this.
Yeah.
I didn't see Inception yet, and I think you told me you haven't.
I have seen Inception.
So how was that as far as a live action?
Well, to me it was a different movie, only because, well, first off, it's an American movie, so there's a lot more movement through action. This movie, Paprika, moved through exposition. There was just a lot of dialogue that you had to get through that moved the story along. Inception, there wasn't that much, and you didn't need it. It was all visual, all moving forward through the action portion of it, and it was easy to follow because of the way they did it.
Now, to be true though, we watched a subtitled version, which
Right.
puts a little more burden on
Correct.
the viewer to read constantly. You
But-
can't look away.
Right, but I
You're-
don't feel
you're
like because
focused.
we were able to focus directly on it, I don't feel like I missed anything because I was so focused on there, and that is actually an interesting question. Maybe we should go back and listen
Watch
to a
the
dubbed version of
or
it,
learn Japanese.
or learn Japanese.
That's my first choice.
Me too, because actually I think I have a chance of learning Japanese before watching this movie again.
Not about you learning Japanese versus this movie, but there's a good point. In general, when you watch any foreign film to your native language, there's the original language of the actors and the writers, which aren't always true to the script. So when you see a dubbed version or a subtitles version, sometimes what you're getting is a conversion of the true script versus what actually showed up on the film version. So you don't always get a marrying up. And I noticed several times we were watching it, and the dialogue that was on the subtitles, you would hear them say Paprika, but that wasn't her
What they
name
said,
wasn't in
right.
there. So I know for sure that the dialogue subtitles didn't exactly match what was being said.
A good example of that I came across was a movie called Brotherhood of the Wolf. I saw it in theaters. It was subtitles. It's a French film, French martial arts. Wonderful movie if you ever get a chance to watch it. Well, I watched it again, but on the dubbed version of it. And there's portions of the dialogue that I don't remember taking place or took place differently. And I think it's because of that conversion that you're talking about. You can't exactly convey the exact meaning. But yeah, anyway.
Well, there's another factor too. Artists tend to, I don't want to say ad lib, but they add an element that's beyond the script. So if you're seeing subtitles, that might just be a literal translation right from an original script or even from an audio version of the transcription of the movie, but you lose something is what I'm getting at.
Okay, right. Well, and there was a few moments in this also when the dialogue was being said, but the subtitles moved a little bit quickly.
Right.
I mean, you had to be on top of it to catch it.
And that exposition you're talking about, there was a point late in the movie where she was just going on and you're like, I'm like, okay, slow down a little
Slow
bit.
down, pause, freeze, Raymond. Yeah. But yeah, again, I like the concept of this. It was a struggle to get through, though. Honestly.
There were definitely some slow spots for me too.
Oh man. But the one thing they did do fairly well, remember, toward the beginning of the movie, they are trying to track down one of the lost devices, and they end up going to the first guy's house, the one that created all the dolls.
Right.
We are not using names on purpose because honestly, I can't pronounce them. We're all Japanese. There's no way. Anyway, one of the bad guys, or who turns out to be a bad guy, stole one of the devices, and then actually ultimately gets it used on himself in the negative because he's not the actual real big bad guy. But anyway, they go to his house because they want to talk to him and find it. And even animated, that dude's house was creepy.
Yeah.
It had dolls everywhere.
Again, that detail.
That detail was just superb. Had that been live action, had that been a set up, I think I would have been really, really creeped out.
If they had put that much production value into it.
Right, exactly.
Because there would have been a lot of shortcuts potentially in a live action, because that would have been a lot of dolls and other things to acquire and set up.
Absolutely. But my God, that one little moment was creepy. There's a lot of the dream sequences in this movie that reminded me very much of The Cell. Have you seen The Cell?
Just pieces of it.
Okay. That movie was really disturbing only because she was in the mind of a very disturbed individual. So there's a lot of parallels between that movie and this movie, Paprika, in that regard. For instance, when Paprika herself was like a butterfly and put down to the table. I mean, the details like that were just, oh my God, weird, creepy. And when you have a movie where you're exploring dreams, specifically disturbed people's dreams, you almost need that to pull off a successful movie, in my mind. I mean, it's no fun to be able to explore dreams of happy people all the time.
Well, this made a good point for me, I thought, of while we were watching it. the machine allowed for people to have a collective dream.
Right.
But if you're gonna have good guys and bad guys, there's always somebody pushing an agenda in these dream type movies, and that brings in the factor of who's in control of the dream, because there's always a struggle. That's the point of the movie: struggling for control of where the destiny is going to end up, where's the resolution going to come from. And of course, in this movie, the resolution was mostly happy.
Right.
The good guys win, the bad guys lose,
Well,
and that's
in this, I kind of got a sense that the bad guy was winning initially because he had more control over dreams. He kind of had a better take and a better feel on it. And the only reason he got beat was because Paprika, or the doctor. By the way, Paprika and the doctor person that's in charge of this, are kind of one and the same person. In the dream world, this doctor person has an avatar, is really kind of what I want to think about, or alter ego, and that's Paprika, who helps these patients through this dream therapy. When she herself, not Paprika, but when she herself becomes really engaged in the dream and starts dreaming for herself, does she become more powerful than the bad guy? And I think it's because of the level of power that she had in dreams from her past or whatever. I think that's really what it came down to, is power over the dream, not necessarily good versus evil. Who was more in control?
And that's a good point, because as science fiction, the science element obviously is the machines that allow for the dreams to take place and become reality, if you want to buy into that as well. But the source of, I'm going to say, spirit is the individuals, the humanity of the people involved, the good guys, the bad guys, if you want to label them that way.
You need good morals versus bad morals, and that depends on who's telling the story, clearly. But
which you don't see in a lot of action movies. That they try to bring into that the good guy just overcomes the evil by his force of will, because he endures so much, and in these dream movies like this one in this particular case, that's where the success comes from. Is the good people just refuse to give up.
Right. Okay.
They work through their issues, and they decide that they're not going to let the world go to whatever, In this case, the bad guy was trying to recreate the universe.
Which I was curious how that was going to work. Was the universe itself going to be changed, or was everybody stuck in this dream with him?
Well, he had tapped into Ming's generators, actually. You have to watch the other episodes of Ming, Flash Gordon to get this one.
Where we reference the Ring of Ming, and maybe that's where this comes from. But that was kind of at the end of the movie, I'm actually left with a lot more questions than I am resolution. What was going to happen? Were people stuck in this dream? Would people just be lifeless? If you were, as an outsider, not dreaming in this scenario, as an outsider, you come over and are you going to see all these people just laying around dreaming? Are they actually moving around kind of in a psychosis? That's what I was wondering. Who, while this guy was controlling the dream, wanted to create the cosmos, recreate them. What was actually physically happening? And they don't address it. Obviously.
Right, and they can't, because there's too many unanswered questions. And this is where those rationalized people that like myself come in and they say, all right, well, if they're all dreaming, then who's feeding them?
Right, exactly.
If the real body is laying around somewhere comatose, they've got to still be active, engaged in all the normal things that human bodies do, which we won't get into.
It's all okay, because they're just going to have their consciousness uploaded to this machine. If you want to take it to more sci-fi, I think that would have been better. Everybody is just now dead, all their consciousness.
So it's basically the Matrix.
Right, absolutely. That would be great.
And let's hope the computers don't break down due to sleet and snow and heat and rain and whatever.
And dogs.
Yeah. That aren't connected.
But no, needless to say, I didn't think very highly of this movie. There are points in it that they did well. And to me, it just ultimately comes down to the level of detail that they put in it.
I will say, I liked some of the story arcs, and they had multiple story arcs going.
Yes, they did. Yes.
They begin with the police officer cop, and they end with the police officer cop, and they complete that story. And it was actually a decent story arc.
That one story in and of itself was perfect.
Yeah, but it had all this interspersed other stuff going on that had nothing to do with him.
Right. I enjoyed that one single story of the cop, and the way it ended. And I actually like that the cop now is cured of his, anxiety problems, whatever the heck
Right.
it was, that he originally went to see Paprika for to fix. The world had to about die to do it, apparently.
But as story goes, and I think this is a really good example of anime. Most anime that I enjoy watching, they bring to the surface a level of understanding of oneself.
Okay.
And the cop understands himself better. The Japanese doctor that is Paprika understands
Right.
herself better.
Right, and probably
most,
doesn't even have a need for Paprika anymore
Right.
at the end of this.
And I thought that was interesting. They bring a point out that the name Paprika is spice, and the doctor's very dry.
Right.
And so this is the spicy
The
side of her personality.
Which makes sense why they named it, or whoever named it, Paprika. And I was not expecting the reference to the spice, but that's exactly what the character was.
Mm-hmm.
As
It
a
was
reference
fun.
to the spice. And it makes sense now. I was like, okay, cool. To be honest, when you first mentioned it, I was afraid it was going to be a documentary on the spice. And I'm thinking, so are they grinding it in outer space because that will make sense for a sci-fi? And no.
Well,
I'm running out of stuff to talk about it,
I
believe
was
it or
gonna
not.
say, we talked about the technology, we talked
Yep.
about the animation itself, some of the story and the characters a little bit, and I'm kind of run out too. But let's give it a beer rating. We
Beer-
had no alcohol during the
No.
during the reviewing of this
And
movie.
let me tell you, I wish we did. Honestly, because I think if I had 2 beers in me right now, I think I would give it a better rating than I'm about to.
So the rating itself is affected by the drinking.
Absolutely.
Okay,
I'm totally on board with that. But since I'm hosting today, I'm going to let you decide how many beers you give it first.
Oh,
How many
I'll
6-packs?
say 6 packs, half a 6-pack.
Oh, really? You're going to go that? You're going to go with that good of a movie?
Well, I don't think that their rating system is good, bad, low, high. Low doesn't necessarily be better. You know, it's an enjoyability factor.
It's a enjoyability factor. Okay. Well, for me to really not look at the time to see how much more of this long, drawn-out exposition that we got to listen to or hear or read, for me to kind of ignore that, I'm going to have to need a good 3 6-packs.
3 6-packs.
Yes.
You wouldn't remember the movie. I don't
That's
know.
the
I wouldn't
point.
remember the movie.
That's the idea.
There was this awesome dream movie I saw the other day. Yeah, that was it. Don't ask details.
Don't even need to know. No, that's the point. Because for me, it was kind of painful to get through that. I'm not giving it a full 5 because there are moments in there that are redeemable.
I call that popcorn moments because you if a movie has slow spots, that's when you go for the drink, you get the popcorn, you get something to do while you're waiting for it to pick back up.
The problem with this movie is we couldn't do that because of the subtitles. We couldn't we had because you got to get the exposition. You got to get the advancement of the story.
And you don't know what you're reading, whether it's going to be good or valuable or not to the storyline.
And to be fair, the story that they were moving along through dialogue was a great story. Yeah. Was wonderful. Executed horribly.
Yeah, I think that they could have encapsulated this with about a half-hour cut.
Yeah.
Or you know, and
it's only a 90-minute movie. That's what kills me.
Yeah, well, it didn't feel like it though.
It didn't. It felt like a 2.5-hour movie.
Although the good points of this movie I really enjoyed.
Oh, yeah.
Although I have to agree with you, it's probably not a movie I'm going to see again.
No, me neither. Doesn't mean we're not going to watch more anime in the future. In fact, or even animated films.
Well, I'm a big anime fan, so we're definitely going to have one sometime.
Oh, I'm thinking we're going to watch animated films that aren't necessarily anime. Oh, interesting tidbit, by the way. Mm-hmm. Anime is, by the term itself, is generic for all animation.
Yes.
The Westerners, like you and I, refer to anime as Japanese animation, which is kind of funny.
And to correct that, they've tried to reposition it as manga.
Yes. Yep.
But Americans don't get it, so it doesn't really work.
No, it doesn't really work. But no, there's a couple of animated movies that I would love to look at. For instance, Wall-E comes to mind. I love Wall-E.
By the way, I think I said manga. It's manga.
Manga. Yeah. Anyway, there's a couple more movies that we can talk about that are animated, which just because they're animated doesn't mean they don't make our list of stuff to look at. So anyway, I think we're going to cut it short today.
Yeah, that sounds good. Well, signing off, this is M.
This is S with SM Sci-Fi, S&M on Sci-Fi. Come check us out at smsci-fi.com.
See you next time.
See ya.